Welcome to the most deleted, shadow banned, demonetized, censored, and trolled channel on social media. Recipient of the Patriot Warrior Purple Q Award. A failed cover-up that we exposed as it happened at the end of June 2019, which resulted in several of my ThereTube channels being taken down, proves that the current narrative is total bullshit and that Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino are blowing smoke up our ass. There are links in the description for prior videos that you should definitely watch, and I'll include clips of those in this video to support the context of what will be revealed. What you are about to see and hear is empirical and irrefutable fact. Suffice it to say that there is much more to discover down this deep state abyss of a rabbit hole than one could conjure up with Stephen King's imagination. Whoever or whatever is being protected by this relentless bullshit story will be dragged out into the light of day. And those who are covering up these crimes, along with those who committed them, will face the pent-up wrath of the American people. Citizen-based vigilante justice will eventually become the means by which these crimes against all of us will finally be solved and punished. There is no way that the American people, as dumbed down and as willingly ignorant as they've been brainwashed and gaslighted by the mainstream media to be, and as accepting of revisionist and totally fictional narratives they've been conditioned to accept by our schools, that any but a very few hopelessly cognitively damaged individuals and a few TDS-infected libtards could ever accept the narrative now being sold by the current administration. Remember, folks, it's easier to believe bullshit and be done with it than to expend the mental energy it takes to find the truth. At this point, a racing elephant jumping on a trampoline and doing triple backflips through a fiery hoop, then splashing into a swimming pool would be easier for anyone with half a brain to believe. It's bread and circuses. I ain't eating the bread, and I'm not impressed by their circuses. And neither should you. Remember, both Epstein and Diddy had high-resolution CCTV cameras all over the place. The FBI confiscated trucks full of CCTV system hard drives, and Pam Bondi said that there were thousands of videos involving the abuse of minors. Where are all of these hard drives now? If what was originally stated by Pam Bondi is true, those hard drives are too valuable to the deep state to be destroyed. And while we're on the subject, where is the Wiener laptop and the clone of its hard drive that Rudy Giuliani had? You know, the one with the frazzle drip video? There is all this evidence that the FBI definitely has, and we're to believe now, apparently, nothing of the sort actually exists, that Ghislaine Maxwell got 20 years in prison for trafficking minor girls too? I'm waiting. Is it possible that Elon Musk's allegation that Trump is on these videos is not just what we believe it all is, bullshit and ego-based bluster? I don't know, but that would be a disaster for this country and a credible reason for a cover-up. However, I don't think so, and that's not only my opinion, as I've stated on many prior videos on this. Both the Epstein and P. Diddler cases were accidentally exposed or leaked on purpose as what is known in the intelligence community as limited hangouts. It is risk management because the people on those videos, politicians and influential people, billionaires with the means to eliminate witnesses with absolute impunity, would be of little use to the deep state and Mossad if they were in prison or massacred by mobs of angry citizens seeking justice. It makes more political sense to have complete control over these people in situ than to have to re-perform the joint honeypot operations on those who would replace the ones who are sent to prison for life or are dragged out of their homes and offices and hung from lampposts by the people. Possession of those videos is the key to control of the planet. Whoever has this irrefutable evidence is now in control of every important politician and world leader on the planet. They will never give it up unless it is pried out of their cold, dead fingers, and it very well may come to that. The fact that there was a CNBC news article which stated that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide in a North Vietnamese war bunker in Hanoi, and said article was deleted from the internet along with my YouTube channel where it was originally posted, is something very few people know about or have seen. That original video and several that followed it are posted on my BitChute channel at bitchute.com/net4TruthUSA and on Rumble and YouTube. Links to those videos are in the description. The original suicide narrative was apparently scrubbed for a version that would be more believable. However, the more believable version in a federal lockup in Manhattan has more flaws and inconsistencies than the one they scrubbed off the internet, and nothing this moronically stupid would be proposed by supposedly intelligent people in the intel community unless it is intended to raise questions. The 180-degree flip-flop of years of proving the official bullshit story wrong by Dan Bongino just has to be a national IQ test, a test performed to see just how much smoke can be pumped into the public asshole before rectal emphysema and peritonitis become inevitable. The lack of any comment by POTUS on the issue is also disturbing, as he has not previously hesitated to comment on every other important issue facing this nation, and so far as I'm aware, not even the alternative citizen journalist media has ventured to ask him for a comment. The silence is deafening, and this issue demands to be resolved. If any of our elected officials refuse to answer, or if they insist that this bullshit is true, then they must be summarily removed from office and prosecuted as accessories after the fact in the crimes that we all know have been committed. The internet and social media, despite the rampant censorship and most disturbing self-censorship on certain platforms, has been the downfall of the Demon Rat Party. Certain elements of the satanic cabal apparently are still entrenched and in place. It may very well take 1776 version 2.0 to expunge this evil from our midst, and it seems glaringly obvious to me that what we are traveling full tilt, warp speed towards such a confrontation, as no nation in human history has ever voted itself out from under the chains and boots of tyranny. Hello, this is Dave from Net4Truth Inglorious Patriots. It is July 8th, 2025, and the time now is 0200 hours Eastern Time here in beautiful southern North Carolina. For those of you who have not seen the original Jeffrey Epstein suicide allegation attempt video that we did in 2019, there are links in the description that you should watch. It's going to take you about a day to go through all this information. This is not something that's just cut and dry. Let me fix this camera here. It's kind of crooked. Okay. Let me explain to you what Stoney and I found back in 2019. There was a CNBC article that said Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide in a North Vietnamese war bunker 2 weeks before he was arrested at Teterboro Airport in New Jersey. That article was found by Stoney's girlfriend, who was looking up Jeffrey Epstein. So she got her phone and she typed in Jeffrey Epstein. And the autocomplete, Google's autocomplete, if you ever typed in a search on Google, you'll know that it's going to try to fill in what it thinks you're looking for. Google's autocomplete filled in underground bunker after the name Jeffrey Epstein. Now, at the time, nobody was looking for Jeffrey Epstein in an underground bunker, because why would they at that point? So the autocomplete had to be rigged so that it would take them to this page that they had set up, saying that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide in a North Vietnamese war bunker. And those videos had been scrubbed from YouTube and my entire channel, Net4Truth USA, taken down because of that. They scrubbed the video. When you typed it in, it took you to the page that said something about underground bunker in Hanoi, Vietnam, in an old hotel. But nothing about Jeffrey Epstein and nothing about anybody committing suicide. The link had the text, Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide in a North Vietnamese war bunker. That text could not be in the link in the search if it wasn't in the original article. They scrubbed the video and replaced it with a generic video about an underground bunker in Vietnam, but they forgot to scrub the link. And when we put it out on Front Street, they scrubbed the whole, they said, oh shit, we forgot to scrub the link. And they scrubbed the link and took my channel offline. But they couldn't take the video offline on BitChute after I reposted it to BitChute and gave up on YouTube because YouTube wouldn't even post the link to the video. In fact, whenever I hear Jeffrey Epstein mentioned on YouTube, I post the link to all those videos. And I can even like my own link, my own comment, but when I come back to that page later, those links to that video on BitChute are gone. If it's a innocuous comment such as "great work, keep it up," it stays there. So it's not my computer and it's not my ability to comment that's at stake here. It's the comment itself. They flagged the comment and they flagged the link to the videos on BitChute. That was the original cover-up of the Jeffrey Epstein suicide. Now, I've been doing this for a long, long time, way before social media. I had a website which no longer was listed on Google, and they shadow banned that as well, so it doesn't pay to put any effort into something that nobody's going to find. So I'm sticking with YouTube, with BitChute, Rumble, and YouTube, and we are about to engage in a very widely watched radio network with 66 million listeners. And we're not even going to put that up here because we're going to let that grow generically on its own. I have a lot of information that I haven't posted online, and all of my stuff is backed up in multiple locations. I have over 40 terabytes of RAID system that all of my information is backed up to. And anybody who's collecting videos of people in compromising situations would be absolutely insane not to have a backup and a backup off-site, that if something happens to me, somebody would post this on the internet and take everybody down. Apparently, Jeffrey Epstein, if he's really dead, which I highly doubt, and I'll get to that in a minute, if he's really dead, his dead man switch, which he would be insane not to have, didn't trigger. You would have to be insane to be working for Intel, as Epstein obviously was, to not have a backup of a backup of a backup and a dead man switch. So proof number one that Jeffrey Epstein is still alive somewhere is the lack of the trigger of a dead man switch. Because if you're going to whack me, you can't do nothing to me no more. So I'll take you all down. Somebody who I know that you don't know I know will post that on the internet, and you'll be playing whack-a-mole trying to take it offline. The almost forgotten thing with the frazzle drip tape that was found on Anthony Weiner's laptop that Rudy Giuliani obviously said himself that he has a backup of, given to him by the shop owner, where Hunter Biden took his laptop to get fixed. Where's that? We know that the FBI and the CIA sent people over to Nepal to get this guy, Peter Doglish, who had the access code to the off-site and out-of-jurisdiction website where this video was posted on the dark web. And we never saw any frazzle drip tape, although the people in New York, the police commissioner in New York, admitted that the tape existed. Whoever has all these videos controls the planet, because they have compromising information on everybody, every politician with influence, all these celebrities and everybody else. And Diddy was the other side of the Intel operation. And it just so happens that Jim Comey's daughter is the prosecutor. Oh, how a coinkydink. What a conflict of interest that is. Okay? You would have to be insane to believe that Jeffrey Epstein didn't have a client list and wasn't blackmailing anybody, and Ghislaine Maxwell, who's doing 20 years in prison for trafficking children, and not a one of these people she trafficked to have even been mentioned, and not to say prosecuted, for their involvement in this trafficking crime. And this has been going on for years, folks. This is nothing new. We just know about it because you and I can talk to each other and dope things out. I have rules and axioms which I follow to get to the truth. And I've been doing this since 25 years ago at least. The danger with the use of circumstantial evidence is that of logical gaps, subjective inferential links of low probability or insufficient degree. From the case People versus Klieg. A lie is a second postulate designed to mask a primary postulate, statement, or condition which is permitted to remain. The workability of a postulate is established by the degree to which it explains existing phenomena which is already known, by the degree that it predicts new phenomena which, when looked for, will be found to exist, and by the degree that it does not require that phenomena which do not exist in fact be called into existence for its explanation. And I had a top secret crypto SSIR clearance, part of the Intel community, and I saw things that didn't make sense to me at the time, which are making a lot of sense now. And that heebie-jeebie feeling, the hairs in the back of your neck standing up, is the reason that I didn't pursue a military career, because I just saw too much shit that didn't make sense. And it's all coming together right now. We know that Jeffrey Epstein committed numerous crimes. We know that Anthony Fauci did, in fact, fund the Wuhan lab to create a bioweapon. And the bioweapon wasn't the virus. The bioweapon was the inoculation against the virus that everybody was, that they could, mandated to take. The delayed action lethal injection that caused blood clots and people to fall over dead just out of the clear blue sky. And that's covered in my videos too. If you look down on the page there, you'll see there's playlists with all that. And nothing's being done. Nobody's being prosecuted. All these people that came up from the border are being deported. Big fucking deal. There's 30 million of them. We were invaded for 4 years with absolute impunity. These people imported an invading army. And they're creating havoc all over the country and not being prosecuted for it. New York City and Los Angeles are shitholes. They're war zones because of these people. They committed treason. They aided and abetted the enemy. Obama sent billions of dollars in cash to Iran. Where is he? Is he in jail? No, he's not in jail. There's only one way to fix this shit, folks, and I've been saying it for years. There's only one way to fix this. And if you've been on my channel, if you subscribed to me since the YouTube days, you know exactly what that is. I don't need to spell it out for you. Until we figure out how to govern ourselves and how to have peace and tranquility without politicians, this is going to go on and on and on and on and on and on, and ain't nothing gonna change, ain't nothing gonna happen. The president is just one man, and he can be compromised, blackmailed, threatened, just like any of the rest of us. Is that happening? I don't know. I wish I did. But they've been destroying this country from all angles for many years, as long as I've been alive, and I'm 74, going to be 75. They've been doing this through the education system. They own the mainstream media. They own Big Pharma. Big Pharma is just, they're not making any money unless you're sick. So if they can make you sick and then sell you the cure, shit, they gotta land off this business. I remember when I was a child, I was like 11. One of my parents' friends got cancer. They flew a doctor in because cancer at that time in 1960-something, early 1960s, was damn near unheard of. And it turns out, years later, we find out that David Perry and all these people that were involved in the Kennedy assassination We're working with a virologist by the name of Dr. Mary something, and you can get the book on Amazon. It's called Dr. Mary's Monkey. They were weaponizing cancer. They had monkeys in a hotel room, and they were fucking around trying to make cancer contagious. They've been trying to destroy this country since the founding. Since the founding, they've been doing this. This is nothing new. We only know about this because of this interaction that we have on social media. And regular people saying that this shit don't make no sense. Jeffrey Epstein committing suicide in MCU in a suicide watch with the cameras going out and the guards falling asleep is total horseshit. And now they're coming out and saying, no, he didn't really commit suicide. Just like Diddy, who had all these parties, cameras in every corner of the room. None of these people ever thought to take one of those camera things that cost like $22 on Amazon or Temu and go and look and see where the cameras are. None of them ever thought of that. They're all sitting around butt-ass naked fucking each other in the ass, and nobody thought that, hey, maybe there's a camera somewhere trying to film me what the fuck I'm doing here. Nobody ever thought of that. Shows you how intelligent these smart people are with their PhDs. Pile higher and deeper. Bullshit, more shit, and PhD. Pile higher and deeper. That's what my father used to say. None of these people ever even thought that going to some island out in the Bahamas and getting butt-ass naked with a 14-year-old would not be captured on tape. Man, you gotta be a special kind of stupid. And you gotta be a special kind of stupid to believe the bullshit that Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, and Kash Patel saying, oh, he committed suicide. Here's a video of his cell. Nobody went in, nobody came out. But the video is lacking a minute there, and in that minute gap, when the video returns, the camera goes like this. It says 1 minute's like this, the other minute's like that. So the cameras in jail are not sticking on a wall where you can reach it. They'd be in a box, in a big metal box with a plexiglass window, and the camera's inside where you can't fuck with it. How does a camera do this shit? How does a camera do that if it's behind a freaking box? It's total bullshit. Total fucking pure D 1A homogenized government certified bullshit. And if you believe it, you're an idiot. Watch this because I got a bunch of clips from people who have the same opinion that I do. Thanks for watching.
What's up, guys? It's been a breaking news, earth-shattering report from the federal government, including footage from Jeffrey Epstein's cell the night that he was murdered, along with a full memo detailing their findings in a full-scale investigation that the government has leveraged against Jeffrey Epstein and his pederast cult. And you are not going to believe the findings. Let me set the table for you, though, right now. This channel has spent tens of thousands of hours detailing the malevolence of the deep state and the blackness of that entity. And not even we were prepared for what just happened. This has changed everything. To be able to commit murder in front of the world, to lie about it and cover it up, and then to officially get away with it, ladies and gentlemen, we are in dark times. Exclusive, DOJ, FBI conclude Epstein had no client list, committed suicide, and that Jeffrey Epstein committed no blackmail against powerful people. Wow. Donald Trump's Justice Department, FBI, have concluded that they have no evidence that convicted sex offender and disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein blackmailed powerful figures, kept a client list, or was murdered, according to a memo detailing the findings obtained by Axios. Okay, so much to unpack there. Let's read a little bit, and then I have some counter arguments here. The administration is releasing a video, both raw and enhanced versions, that it says indicates that no one entered the area in the Manhattan prison where Epstein was held the night he died in 2019. The video supports the medical examiner's finding that Epstein committed suicide in a 2-page memo. The findings represent the first time Trump's administration has officially contradicted conspiracy theories about Epstein's activities and deaths, theories that have been pushed by the FBI's 2 top officials before Trump appointed them to the bureau. Social media influencers and activists Kash Patel and Dan Bongino were among those MAGA world who questioned the official version of how Epstein died. Patel and Bongino have since said Epstein committed suicide, but it became an article of faith online, especially on the right, that Epstein's crimes also implicated government officials, celebrities, and business leaders, and that some of them wanted to kill him in order to conceal their crime. The memo says that no one else was involved in the Epstein case will be charged. Epstein's associate Ghislaine Maxwell is serving 20 years for child sex trafficking and related offenses. I'm reading this and I can't believe what I'm reading.
Yeah, I saw your appearance at CPAC with Ben and with Ted Cruz. And one of the things that you alluded to, and this is something Donald Trump has talked about, the DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, we'll check back with you.
Now, let me tell you what I don't want to ever hear again. I don't want to hear anybody defending Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, or Dan Bongino. They looking you in your face now, according to the Axios report, and they're saying that Epstein never had a list. He killed himself. There's nobody else to prosecute. Well, I have a couple of small clips of Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, and Pam Bondi. Well, Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, before they were elected, they were saying, and Dan Bongino said emphatically that he was working for he was a spy for the Middle Eastern. Some even said for Mossad, Israel. All of this information Pam Bondi had, she said that the files was on her desk. She said it was victim after victim. You want me to believe that Epstein was the only one doing something to the children? You even had Kash Patel saying that Bill Gates was trying to stop the files from coming out. Now they're in office. There ain't but 2 conclusions you can come to, and I'm going to let you see the clips. There ain't but 2 conclusions you can come to with this last report of Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. Either they're part of the deep state or the deep state has outsmarted them. Because nobody's going to tell me there wasn't any files. They wouldn't be resistant. They could have said a long time ago there was no files. Now, they may have destroyed the files, and you don't want to admit to that, but you're not going to tell me there was no damn files.
That Bill Gates is lobbying Congress night and day to prevent the disclosure of that list? And why is it that the Senate, and good...
Listen, that Jeffrey Epstein story is a big deal. Please do not let that story go. Keep your eye on this. Catherine Rumler, we need to keep the heat on this case, folks. There are a lot of people who are knee deep in the Washington swamp who are not telling you the truth about serious allegations out there that Epstein may have had video and audio of people out there doing things they shouldn't have been doing. And you should be asking yourself the question, how is it that all these people, the CIA director, the Obama fixer, Bill Clinton, all intersected paths with Jeffrey Epstein? Jeffrey Epstein isn't with us anymore, and nobody seems to want to talk about it. Outside of a few entrepreneurial media outlets saying, hey, this is a big deal.
He killed himself. You want me to? I've seen the whole file.
He killed me.
Tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn. And there are hundreds of victims. And no one victim will ever get released. It's just the volume, and that's what they're going through right now. The FBI is diligently...
About a year and a half after that, I'm in a green room at Fox, and I'm not going to say who because they didn't give me permission to share it, but the short story, but not who they are, says, you know, Epstein's an intelligence asset for people in the Middle East, right? I'm like, no, I didn't know that. I'm like, you sure of that? The person, let's say, is like, I'm absolutely sure of that. That he's either a witting or unwitting asset, intelligence asset, meaning his plane and that island, the cameras, there's a big assumption out there that these videotapes were exclusively in the custody of Epstein. That's a huge mistake. The reason they wanted this story to go away is because there's an assumption like, oh yeah, Epstein had him. No, he wasn't the only one who had him, according to this source. These assets, that's why this blackmail story makes so much sense. Which Middle Eastern countries they are, I don't know. But this person, who's a very, very good reporter, I mean, aces, right, swore Epstein was either a witting or unwitting intelligence asset, and they may have had his plane wired up, and they're the ones who have all this stuff. So the point is, to sum it up, how do you know some of these countries aren't going to some of these power players who aren't making decisions? Because, hey, he wouldn't want this video out there, right? How do you know?
100%.
I mean,
let's get personal.
We all did. And the FBI handed over a couple hundred pages of documents. But, you know, Sean, I gave them a deadline of Friday at 8 a.m. to get us everything. And a source had told me where the documents were being kept. Southern District of New York, shock. So we got them all by, hopefully all of them, Friday at 8 a.m., thousands of pages of documents. I have the FBI going through them, and Kash is also, now that we have Kash here, it's a game changer, of course, and Kash is going to, Director Patel, is going to get us a detailed report as to why the FBI withheld all of those documents.
Okay, I want to be clear because I think people got frustrated because they were expecting more. You were expecting more, and you didn't find out less than 24 hours before the release. You got a whistleblower that confirmed that there were way more documents that they were supposed to turn over, and then you found out just before that.
Well, sure. And you're looking at these documents going, these aren't all the Epstein files. You know, there were flight logs, there were names and victims' names. And we're going, where's the rest of the stuff? And that's what the FBI had turned over to us. And so
Now, somebody's got some explaining to do for me. Because all of this time, there were files. New York office was withholding evidence. They tricked Pam Bondi and told Pam Bondi that this was it, even though any third grader could have figured out that this wasn't all the damn files, because information about Jeffrey Epstein's first arrest wasn't even in there. But Pam Bondi wasn't smart enough to figure this one out. Some of you say I need to give her an opportunity. Shut your damn mouths. Please explain to me now. I want to hear Steve Bannon and all the rest of you fanboys of Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and Pam Bondi. I want to hear you give me a good defense.
So Trump's Department of Justice has officially announced that there is no client Epstein list, that Jeffrey Epstein 100% himself, and that there's nothing to see here because they will not be giving any more releases of information. Wasn't it like 30 days ago that this broad said that she had that list on her desk and she would be releasing it soon? So were you lying then, or are you lying now? This is a really great example as to why I keep telling you guys that I do not belong to any political party, nor do I support any politician. Remember back in 2021 when JD Vance tweeted, what possible interest would the US government have in keeping Epstein's client list a secret? MAGA demanding that Pam Bondi step down. This is a cute headline, but it's really disingenuous. They don't want her to step down for falsely hyping the list. They want her to step down because everybody, literally everybody, knows that this is a cover-up. And it shouldn't just be Pam Bondi either. Dan Bongino and Kash Patel co-signing that he himself, y'all should get the out of office too. All of y'all have been screaming about accountability and transparency for so long now, and when you had the opportunity to actually bring something real to the table for the American people, you bowed out like fucking cowards. In the year 2025, with this situation still not being on the table, you have to ask yourself, what could they possibly still need to hide? I'm just going to assume that every single person who was relevant and had proximity to Epstein is a fucking diaper sniffer. I don't know about y'all, but I think that's fair.
This is the footage of the cell block exterior for Jeffrey Epstein's cell block, the single most secure cell block in the entire Fed prison in Manhattan. This would be a really tough one to break out of, quite frankly. But would it be hard to break into? There are lots of cameras. Presumably, if you were to break in, let's say, like a kill squad to go like murder Jeffrey Epstein in his cell, that's behind that door right there. I mean, what you're seeing right here is justice.gov video of the actual cell block. It'd be hard because the video cameras are there. There's only one way in or out of the cell block. No, there's no other way to get into this cell block to go kill Epstein if you wanted to. You know, this would be the one place that you'd get in and out, and there obviously is no one going in. You can see we've given you the entire 11-hour video when Jeffrey Epstein went to sleep, and then it was when he was found dead in his cell. Except, of course, for the 1 minute that was obviously cut out, like clearly cut out of the video, which is insane. Here, ladies and gentlemen, is the 1 minute from 11:58 to midnight. There's a full minute right around the midnight hour. It's just gone. And then the camera seems to have moved. Here is a clip directly from the live feed, the feed, okay, that was allegedly live during Jeffrey Epstein's killing himself because he's so innocent, where the minute's just missing. I got a buddy who works at this company who used to do a ton of installation of security cameras. The security cameras shouldn't move, even if you did clip a minute out. Why would the security cameras move? Security cameras, by their very nature, are to be very stable and inaccessible to someone trying to tamper with them. So why the F did the frame move or distort? Either the camera moved or the lens has been moved. And where's the minute? I can just do this all day. I'll play it for you again and again and again. There's the minute. Go talk to anybody who does special forces and ask, how quickly could you breach a door? How quickly could you get in and out of a door? How quickly could you kill someone? Could you do it in a minute? Yeah, you could, if you're talking to the right operators. Let me tell you what transparency would be. And I don't have to look too far, actually, because I already found it. Whatever you think about Tulsi Gabbard and the JFK files, let me tell you what, because we know, we have direct sources. Tulsi Gabbard released every single document, except for a few that I think are still in limbo, but they're actively going to be released, that they had on JFK. There's a ton of embarrassing stuff in there. There's stuff that the government didn't want you to know about Operation Mongoose, about a ton of different connections. There's virtually zero redactions. And you know what happened when they released all of the JFK files? They just said, you know what? Wow, there it is. I might not like that there's no smoking gun, but I mean, you sweet summer child, you really think there's going to be a smoking gun? It's going to be a very murky constellation that you can put it all together. And we did. It was pretty obvious what was happening with JFK and who he had pissed off and who was gunning for him.
All right, Jesse on Fire, welcome back. So, big news, apparently, in the Epstein list search. You know, this endless search for the Epstein list that we seem to never, ever get. Yeah, I guess it was just, it was all for naught, you guys. Like, it was all for naught. Wait, my camera's too high. You know, listen, dude, like, it's unfortunate, but we're never, ever, 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 ever going to get the list because it doesn't exist. Like, the list doesn't exist, guys. And also, the footage that was just put out to show us that for sure he did actually himself, right? It's been doctored. And we can show you the footage today. I will show you the footage today and show you it's been doctored. And I want to show you some of the reactions on X to this because I find them rather interesting, you know, like really interesting. Doctored footage confirmed. Response from X people. What does it matter if it's only 1 minute missing? Okay. It's only 1 minute missing. And like, he supposedly died like at like 6 whatever in the morning or something, or 6 p.m. This is at midnight. You're all, what? The footage is doctored. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where they're doctoring footage. So in the shadiest case in the history of the world, where every single person keeps flip-flopping what they're saying. They put out footage and it's doctored. And you're like, well, the part that they doctored couldn't tell you anything anyway. Or how the fuck would you know? Like, what? How would you know, dude? Well, because of the coroner. The coroner said this is when he died. The coroner also said that he, like, grow up, nerd. Okay? If there is any discrepancy or indication of, conspiracy, then that's the story. Okay? Now, we're going to talk about all of that, and I'm going to show you guys the footage. And, look, I can't help myself. I've said this before. I trust Kash Patel. I do. I trust him that he is trying to do the right thing. And which brings you to why they're actually not putting the list out, why they're actually saying that he did to himself, okay? Because I can tell you that answer, right? Or at least I can tell you the two options. Right? And neither of them is because he actually, for sure, or that there's definitely no evidence that he blackmailed anyone. That is laughably absurd. Okay, like the two options, neither of them are those things, okay? But it is pretty straightforward. So we'll get into that in a second. All right, so let's go back to this moment in time when Kash Patel was on Benny Johnson's show. If you guys are unclear, Kash Patel is the director of the FBI. So it all stops with him, okay? And here's what he said back then, and then let's discuss why his tone has changed so much, okay? Watch this.
It's the same thing with Epstein's list. It's like, what the hell are these Republicans doing? Oh, I saw you give out the list.
I saw you make news this morning about that. I got to get to that.
Yeah.
You say that the FBI has Epstein's list. They're sitting on it. That doesn't seem like something you should do. You're protecting the world's foremost predator. That seems like an evil thing to do, regardless of who may be embarrassed in the release of that list. Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list. You don't think that Bill Gates is lobbying Congress night and day to prevent the disclosure of that list? And why is it that the Senate, and good for Senator Blackburn to try to get it out, but then Dick Durbin comes over the top and says, no, we're not going to release the names. I don't care about the list itself, but if release the names, right? What the hell are the House Republicans doing? They have the majority. You can't get the list? You're going to accept Dick Durbin's word or whoever that guy is as to who is on that list and who isn't, and that it can and can't be released? Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are. We have an election coming up, and we need to adjudicate this matter at the polls. God knows the FBI and DOJ aren't going to do anything. But how are you going to reward the FBI with a new headquarters building after their illegal surveillance on Donald Trump continues with a reauthorization of FISA, and we can't even get basic documents out? This is why America hates Congress. And this is why I'm tired of the Republican majority saying they're going to get the job done.
Okay, so let's discuss, guys. Let's discuss that real quick, okay? So it seems like his tone has changed quite a bit because now he's like, well, there is no list, guys. There's no list. And of course they have, no, there is no list. First of all, okay, I just want to point out the obvious, all right? The idea that Jeffrey Epstein had some document that was like Bill Gates videotaped with a 14-year-old, this person videotaped with a whatever. It's like a list, right? The only way you get a list is if you get the footage, okay? That's what you're actually after, is you want the footage that he was using to blackmail them, all right? This was a simple operation, executed masterfully. It was, hey guys, listen, you got some weird tastes that you're into? What about kids? Anything else? Oh, you want to kill something? Well, I have this island out here. We can do whatever we want out here, right? There's no laws. So like, if you happen to, touch a kid out here, don't worry. This is where the powerful come to get their, rocks off. Except it's all wired for sound and video. And then so afterwards, it's like, ooh, I'm glad you had a good time. I'm really glad you had a good time. But I just wanted to tell you that I just became your best friend because I'm the one who's going to make sure no one ever sees that video. So don't worry. You don't need to give me any money. You don't need to think about it too much. It's just, I might call you with a favor or two from time to time. And then all of a sudden, that person, okay, or this person is in your pocket forever. That is the power that they wield becomes your power, okay? And honestly, that is what this game is. And that has to do with the explanation of all of this coming up forthcoming when I'm telling you why you're not finding out about these names, all right? So everything in politics and whatever, everything everyone is doing, it's game theory. Like, it's all a game, and it just depends on what game you're trying to play, okay? The game that they are playing is the acquisition and maintenance of power, okay? Like, that's what they do. Once you have a certain amount of money, okay, you can use that money to get people to do what you want, except for other people who have tremendous resources, but they have power that you want to be able to wield. Well, if they won't take your money, you need to give them the stick, right? That's the biggest stick there is, blackmail. Okay, that's why blackmail is so prominent in these circles. Okay, like that is the way that you get people to do things if they don't want to do it because they don't want to take the money. You know, if you don't want to just whack everybody out, if you kill them, you can't use their power either. Okay, and so, like, the only way to know who these people were is if you have the footage itself, or if you somehow captured Jeffrey Epstein's communications, which were in one way or another, like, traceable and recoverable. You know, if you just like if he just called some guy on a landline and has this conversation with them 15 years ago, how on earth are you going to know about that, right? So the list would be a list compiled by the DOJ based on the footage that was captured, okay? So if they say they have 10,000 hours of video that they have to go through, and it's all Epstein with kids and whatever, okay, where would you get that footage if it also did not include the stuff that he was using as leverage on people? Because this is the biggest part of this story, okay, is this right here, okay? DOJ says no evidence Epstein had a client list or blackmailed associates, okay? The first part is like, all right, I mean, that makes sense. Why would he have a client list? You think that, if you think I got a video of Bill Clinton doing XYZ, you think I need to write his name down on a list? I know who I've got in my pocket, dude. Okay? Like, I could remember every single one of these people and exactly what I had on them in 1 second. It's about where I would keep the footage to make sure no one else can get to it. Okay? Because that's also the reason that you stay alive, is the fact that you have the footage somewhere safe. Because if you have if anyone else can get to the footage, you are likely to get killed. Okay? You're likely to get killed. Now, the fact that he dies in jail might be an indication that they found the footage. And so they're like, are there any other copies? You know, like, we got to roll the dice that there are no other copies, because now we can whack this guy out. Hope there's not a dead man's trigger, someone else who would release it if he dies. So the idea there's no evidence that he blackmailed associates is hilarious. Okay, that guy, Black, the billionaire who had no dealings with Epstein, goes to Epstein Island and then ended up giving him $180 million over the next 6 years, $30 million a year for the next 6 years. And when they asked him about it, they're like, why'd you give him so much money? He's like, oh, he was helping us with tax mitigation. Oh, yeah? A guy who's never done any trades, no proof of being a financial advisor of any kind. You paid him $180 million to help with tax mitigation? That makes perfect sense, right? Okay, goes to Epstein Island and then is paying the guy $30 million a year. Give me a break. That's not evidence that he was blackmailing anybody? You couldn't put that guy in the box and press him? No, you can't put him in the box because he's a billionaire. These people do not play by the same rules. If the DOJ tries to, like, subpoena this dude, he's worth $9 billion, okay? And they put him in the box and they start questioning him, right? What do you, like, he's going to have a team of 60 lawyers, dude. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, not 60, but you understand the point that I'm making? These people are above this type of investigation. They're not going to say anything. They're never going to tell you anything. They're going to have the most, seasoned group of killers in the room. And then guess what, dude? If you don't have the footage, you don't have anything. You have clear circumstantial evidence, but you don't have anything. So you can't have the 10,000 hours of footage of Jeffrey Epstein with the kids and not have the footage with, like with these other celebrities. That's my point, okay? Like, that's my big point. So check this out. Now, let's look now at the footage here, okay? So look at this. So here's what you're looking at, all right? The recently released Epstein security footage is missing a full minute. The footage cuts out at exactly 11:59, then back up at 12. Okay, watch. So watch the bottom left corner. Boop. That happens in the middle of the thing. Okay. Right? So 11:59, boom, and then just switches. Okay, now, is it possible that the way that the system works is it exports entire days and they start again, at, well, actually, no, because that goes from 11, so it goes 11:59 to 1. Yeah, because this is like, it's possible that it exported August 9th and then somehow they just, when they're doing something to put them together, it cuts off the last minute. I don't know, whatever. Here's a real serious question for you guys, though. I thought there was no footage, like, what am I looking at? I'm looking at footage of a jail cell, and someone has put numbers on top of it. This is 8/10/2019. It's like, all right, well, like, how do I know that the real shot of this is not back further, and all you did is just crop out where it says the actual date of this footage, and you just replaced it in the same way, in the same place with different dates? Like, I'm looking at a jail cell door. You know what I mean? Like, it's a jail cell door. Oh, wow, this proves it. No one in or out, And honestly, this is my actual. So if Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are like, we saw the footage, okay? We saw the footage and no one went in or out. You're all right. But you do know that they said that the footage was erased and the camera was broken, right? Like, you do remember that, right? Because I saw Kash go on to Rogan and say that he doesn't know, he never heard about that. It's in the New York Times, dude. It's in the New York Times. Of course he knew about that, right? So then if they did bring it to him and they're like, here's the footage, guys, like, here it is, wouldn't you have questions about where that came from? Because here's the other thing. Just because Dan Bongino and Kash Patel are at the top of the heap, do you really think that there are not people operating inside of the FBI that can keep them from things? I mean, they'd be risking their jobs, I guess, or whatever. But like, if you think there's not like people who, might still be in contact with the previous administration's DOJ and FBI, and they're trying to like keep them away from things, I mean, that's possible. But I think what's more likely is that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino know, okay, they know that this could be BS, or that they're the ones who are putting this out, and they're trying to kibosh the Epstein thing on purpose. Now, why would they do that? That's my original question to you guys, right? Or what I said, I'm going to tell you the two options, okay? So option one is that they have something on Kash and Dan Bongino. You know what I mean? Like, there's some reason why these guys are being, compelled against their will to do this song and dance and say the Epstein files are not real, right? Like, I don't know if they got something on them or they made some kind of threat, right? It's not even, I mean, like, that's possible. That's like option one, is there's a situation, or they got bribed. Who knows? You know what I mean? You have no idea what you're dealing with here. Like, we literally have no idea what we're dealing with here in actuality. We know that the head of Israeli intelligence was meeting once a month with Jeffrey Epstein. I think there's a high probability, given the fact that he's protected when he's in Florida, that there's like, he's like a joint operation between the two intelligence agencies. That would be my guess, honestly, is Mossad and CIA working together were running Epstein, okay? Because I've heard CIA people say straight up, if there are people like in other countries and you need something from them and they want a kid, like, you think they're above getting them a kid in some country where they're easy to get to? No, because they will get them what they want, because they deal in the darkest, murkiest, grossest place on earth. And again, they want to wield that guy's power. That guy asks for a thing, they give him that thing. Or they want information from that guy, whatever, they'll give him what he asks for. Okay? So if it was a joint operation, right, then you have very powerful people who are trying to kibosh this thing, because in the event that all of this stuff starts coming out, maybe they're implicated. But I think what the actual reason is, and this is my hypothesis, okay? So what did I say the game is? And I'm talking the game between countries. I'm talking about the game between people in these high places. The game is acquisition and maintenance of power. That's what they do, okay? Now, you are Trump. You are Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, whoever, right? And you're in the new administration. And again, they say that they have the Epstein videos. Well, guess what? Then that would mean they obviously have the videos that he was using as leverage. Why would you have your own footage of you committing horrific crimes in a different place than you would be keeping the videos of, whoever you have dirt on. So the likelihood that they have him is high. Okay. Now, here is a scenario I will give you to demonstrate the point that I'm making. So let's say that you had a video of fill in the blank, right? Bill Gates. Okay. So Bill Gates has tremendous power, has the ability to move oceans if he wants to in many different ways, right? Now, if you go and you expose him, right? What happens to him? He's over, right? He's over. You expose that video, you expose the fact that he was doing whatever. And I'm not saying that he was, okay, for the record, right? I know his wife left him because of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, just something to think about. But I don't know for sure that he was. I'm just using this as an example. So you expose him, okay? Well, Bill Gates is over now, right? Globally, like his ability to do things is going to be at least drastically diminished. Cool, okay? Well, so right before you exposed him, you had Bill Gates by the balls. You had everything that he can do in your back pocket. You can go to him anytime and be like, hey, Bill, why don't you blah, 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 and he has to do it, okay? Now you exposed him. Zippity-doo-dah. The citizens are happy. They're all, yes, one less bad guy. Got him. And it's like, yeah, right. Okay, well, so now apply that across the board to all the most powerful people that Epstein had dirt on, okay? Once, right now, the second that we're talking right now, they have the ability to make those people do whatever they want, wield the power that they have any way that they want to avoid having this horrific outcome destroy their life, right? The second they release their names, all of that leverage, power, and control is gone, okay? Now, I personally will tell you right now, like, I would obviously want them to release the names. But I'm going to be totally straight with you, okay? Like, human chess is a game I like. If I was in those guys' position, if I was in whoever's position has the choice of, I can either keep these and just run these guys ragged as much as I want. You sick, demented. Hey, why don't you go do this? I can do anything to these people. Make them do whatever they want. Or I can expose them. You think I'm exposing them? Okay, like, I'm not going to give that up. Why would I give that up? Right? Like, it's literally like a winning Mega Millions ticket to a regular person if you're in the game that they're in. Okay? So that's my hypothesis, is that the leverage and power that they have over the people who are on those videos is too high. They're not going to give it up, dude. They're just not going to give it up. It's too valuable. So, and especially when you consider the fact that the guys on the, on the other side of the ocean are involved in this thing, right? How do they control, how does this little country control so much, right? It's because they're experts, absolute experts in this game right here, okay? This is what they're absolutely best at, is the intelligence gathering and their ability to recognize who wields power and then capture their power, whether it's through campaign finance, through lobbying, or through this, okay? Through this. This is what they do. This is what everybody does, but we know that they do that, and he was running them, or he was running for them. So I feel pretty good about that hypothesis. So you guys tell me what you think in the comments. I love you guys. Subscribe to the channel, ring the bell. Bye-bye.
Well. The FBI decided to quietly drop a nothing to see here memo about Jeffrey Epstein on a Sunday night at 9:30 p.m. on 4th of July weekend, because nothing screams transparency like burying a bombshell while Americans are busy watching fireworks and grilling burgers. According to the memo, Epstein didn't have a list, didn't blackmail anyone, and yep, he deleted himself. Again, do they really think we are that stupid? They thought we wouldn't notice, but we did. And now we're going to rip this government-issued bedtime story to shreds. Ladies and gentlemen, gather around the campfire of common sense, because the FBI and the DOJ are back with another bedtime story for the American people. This time it's about the ghost of Jeffrey Epstein. And wouldn't you know it, The story ends with the same way every government cover-up ends, with no accountability, no transparency, not a single powerful name getting touched. Shocker. Apparently the list, it's a long one, has one name. Prince Andrew. That's the only confirmed name. So let me get this straight. The Federal Bureau of Integrity, now run by Trust Me Kash Patel and former cop turned company man Dan Bongino, just issued a memo through Axios of all the cesspool news reporting platforms, claiming that Jeffrey did in fact self-delete, had no list, and didn't blackmail one single soul. That's right, folks. According to our trusty institution, Epstein, the man with a private jets full of underage people, a private island, and elite global connections, maybe the Mossad, had nothing on anyone. No compromat, no secrets, no list. Just a sad little man who, in the words of the FBI, tied a bed sheet, made some bad choices, and quietly passed into the night. Yeah. And Hunter Biden's laptop was just a digital coloring book. Here's the best part. The memo claims there was a comprehensive search of every cabinet, drawer, hard drive, thumb drive, dusty desk, and squeaky floorboard. And despite recovering over 300 gigabytes of data and physical evidence, they found nothing of importance. No names, no logs, no pay for play, just random data. Probably Sudoku puzzles and cat videos. Scoop. But wait, didn't Pam Bondi go on live TV and tell America she had the list on her desk? I believe she did say this. Let's check this out. Let's listen to Pam in her own words.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
Okay. Well,
all right. Not yet. Not yet. Pam. So she went on live television and told America she had the list on her desk and was actively reviewing it. Did she misplace it? Did it vanish in a puff of FBI fairy dust? Or was she just told to zip it once the memo started getting prepped? And now the DOJ is trying to tie a bow on a case, on a pig, saying no more Epstein records will be released. That's it. Case closed. Nothing to see here. Move along. Shut up. That's what we're being told. And just when you thought the gaslighting couldn't get thicker than DC humidity, John Brennan's back in the news, potentially facing perjury for lying under oath during the Russia hoax. But don't hold your breath, because the deep state will always win. John Brennan may face perjury issues after the CIA director, Ratcliffe, uncovers Russia hoax testimony. Do we think anything's going to happen to that? I'm sure he'll get a couple of book deals, be able to go on The View and maybe get a part-time job. Meanwhile, overseas, Israel is dropping more warheads on foreheads back to, on the Houthis in Yemen because they're firing more missiles towards Tel Aviv. Back home, Elon Musk has officially driven his credibility off of a cliff, launching a third party, a political fantasy that Trump himself called a train wreck. And he's right. You split the American vote, and we're done. It's a vanity project. And like that, you're handing 2026 to the Democrats on a platinum platter. At this rate, Musk might as well be funding the DNC directly, and he could have been. Folks, this is what happens when you make corruption with cowardice. They dangle justice in front of us like a carrot, only to yank it away the moment it gets too close to the Clintons, to Bill Gates, or to anyone else on the guest log to the island. But here is the truth. If Epstein really had no dirt, no names, no leverage, he'd still be alive. You don't take out the man holding nothing. You don't take out the man holding nothing. I'll say that again. If he had anything, well, you know what happened. So no, I don't buy it. And if you still got 2 working brain cells and a BS detector, neither should you.
So now that you've heard several reports by credible creators on social media, is what I've been telling you for years a bit clearer in your mind? Apparently, the decision was made that exposing these criminals would come at a cost of losing control over their influence and power. It is highly likely that the CIA and Israeli Mossad are and have been working as a team to control world affairs by the blackmail of world leaders and corporate bigwigs, and to lose that control by exposing these scumbags would only result in different scumbags replacing the ones who would be taken out. Losing control would not be a good thing, as scumbag replacements would be unpredictable and beyond control of the CIA Mossad, and those replacements would not fall for the honey traps their predecessors got trapped with. The joint intel operation was pure genius. A flawlessly executed long-game plan that would have never seen the light of day had it not been for citizen journalists who successfully circumvented relentless censorship by the largest government-backed and sponsored corporations on the planet. But we have to give credit where credit is due, and stand in awe of the cunning and Mensa-level genius and chutzpah of one of the smallest nations on the planet who could cause beepers to explode in the faces of hundreds of enemy terrorists. Who knows? Maybe it's a good thing. This is Dave from Net4Truth USA, Inglorious Patriots. Thank you for watching.